it's funny because they mimic the first one so much to a point, but they give you the worst parts of the first one. Like in the first one, they do everything over again. Like with
Yeah.
for me when they did the Neo Awakening, but it doesn't happen until 50 minutes into the movie. So like, could you imagine Matrix One that happening where where they put him in a table and his mouth closes and stuff, and he
Yeah.
has to run and get woken up and takes the pill. Like if that happened, if like him being an engineer in the first 50 minutes, that was the movie. I'm like, why are you doing this?
Welcome to the After 5 podcast, the time for catching up on video games, music, movies, and TV after work. I'm Landon.
And I'm Hans.
And this is our first video episode.
It is.
So far.
Yeah, we're not just figments of your imagination online. So not
anymore,
from a computer program or anything like that. So
right. Great foreshadowing, Hans.
I know.
Because on this episode, we're actually going to do a sort of quick and dirty bonus episode. We have one movie that we loved and one movie that we didn't love so much. But we'll be talking about both, kind of giving our little mini reviews and our thoughts on each of those.
If you're a learned person, you could say it's a tale of two cities, and it was the best of times and it was the dumbest of times. So
it was definitely, one of them was definitely the dumbest of times. I'm pretty sure I lost brain cells.
Yeah, I agree. I did too. So let's go into the negative first, and we'll kind of wrap up with the positive. So if you can't guess,
that's
the movie that we're talking about is
Matrix Unfortunate Resurrections.
Yeah.
Matrix Reservations.
Yes.
So I'll preface this by saying, look, I think Hans and I both respect and appreciate everybody's opinion on this. I know some people love this movie. I know some people were, indifferent about it. They were just like, it was fine. But I don't want to speak for you, Hans, but I was definitely in the camp of just vehemently hating it. Just pure hatred.
So I watched it and I was kind of like, okay, because I was doing work at the same time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I didn't hate it at first, and I'm like, it just kind of felt stupid, and I'm just kind of confused. And it went on for a long time, and then I told you about it because you're like, well, how is it? Because I watched it on HBO
right
the first night. I'm like, it's okay, fine.
Yeah, it was a movie.
And then it's a movie. And then you watched it, and you're like, I hate this movie so much.
With a deep passion. Yeah. So why don't we start with you, because I've got a lot to say about it. What were your kind of initial impressions?
So, it's one of those movies, like if you had watched The Matrix 10 years ago and you kind of remember certain things, they allude to a lot of the older stuff. And we're going to talk some spoilers here, by the way. So,
of course, yes.
So look out for that. So they allude to a lot of things, what happened in the first one, and they show actual video. And then sometimes they even have like people that aren't that person. Like it shows that Trinity version of her reenacting the first scene, and I'm like, why are you reenacting the first scene but making it worse? Like you're reminding us what a better movie that was. Like, and it's not letting this even be its own movie. And they tried just going way too meta for me.
Yes.
The point where it's funny because like I was just kind of like very unimpressed. I didn't think about it too much after the movie, and then I watched the original first Matrix, and then I started hating that new Matrix movie.
Then your hatred started boiling.
Yeah, because I remembered how good the first one was, and it made me mad. Why? And it's funny because they mimic the first one so much to a point, but they give you the worst parts of the first one. Like in the first one, they do everything over again. Like with for me when they did the Neo Awakening, but it doesn't happen until 50 minutes into the movie. So like, could you imagine Matrix 1 that happening where where they put him in a table and his mouth closes and stuff, and he
Yeah.
has to run and get woken up and takes the pill. Like if that happened, if like him being an engineer in the first 50 minutes, that was the movie. I'm like, why are you doing this? And then like you're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, I guess you're gonna relearn. Oh, I guess you're gonna relearn everything again.
Right.
Oh, I guess you're gonna have this fight with fake Morpheus again. I
Right.
guess you're
Right.
gonna do this again, but just not as cool. Um, and then even watching the first Matrix, the action scenes were so cool. Um, and this one, the action scenes, like it didn't even seem like it felt like it was a fan film almost.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's what sums it up for me the best is that it felt like a Matrix fan film by like with a bigger, like, well, kind of with a decent
Not
budget.
even
Like,
it felt like a worse budget than before. And with
yeah,
before, like it felt inspired, like they had something to say. This one, they really don't have anything to say other than like you can tell they wanted to bring him back. And then when they brought him back, they had no reason to bring him back. And I'm like, you
right,
did a whole movie of bringing these two characters back from the dead, and you're not going to do anything with them. Like
right.
even they're like, oh yeah, we didn't want to do a second one. We just wanted to do this one. But it's like the whole movie is taking them from dead to alive. I mean, that's it.
Yeah,
That's the whole point of the movie.
yeah. Definitely agree with everything you said. I think, yeah, there's just so much to cover about this, what I didn't like with this movie. I think to start off with, yeah, there was so many weird like callbacks to the first movie. I get that, I get that a lot of it, the confusion and kind of the callbacks were story driven or supposed to be story driven. But I think the thing that bothered me about the how meta it was is that it was almost like they were trying to be too cute for their own good.
Right.
Like it was like, oh, he's an engineer for the Matrix video game, and this is the new video game.
Yeah. You know what bugged me too is they didn't even. It would have been at least kind of cool if they would have done cutscenes or the video game or something like that, where you actually see what it looked like.
yeah,
Because, and it's funny with Trinity, she's
yeah,
like, "Oh, I played the video game," and you're like, "Did you now? You played the entire game in one night, and now you know everything about it, and you believe him? Like, what
right,
the heck? Like, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. And then them like specifically referencing WB, like it just felt very. I don't know if you remember a few, not a few episodes, a lot of episodes ago of After Five, I was talking about how like they did that weird cutscene in the Matrix video
Yeah,
game where the Wachowski brothers come on and they're like pixelated and they're like talking about like, we're not going to do that whole Jesus ending thing.
right.
And I felt like they just did that again with this movie. Like it just felt so cringy how much they were like how meta they were being,
Yeah.
openly meta, you know what I
They just
mean?
like gave you a double slap, just slap both the cheeks, and then you're just like in a daze, like, did that happen? What's going on here?
Yeah, like where am I? What am I watching?
Yeah,
Is this the behind the scenes? What is this? But man, I think on a more fundamental level, like I just really speaking to like what you were talking about with the action, like it just didn't capture that vibe of the first Matrix movie. And I think so many people loved the first Matrix because it was revolutionary. The story was just rock solid. It was just like everything was everything just felt like it came together perfectly. Like um, you know, all the action was just punchy. It was different. The effects were like obviously, you know, next level. They were like top of the line at the time.
yeah,
And this one, all the effects, I was like, what happened?
yeah.
Like
Not as good.
they had this, I mean, no, definitely not as good. And I think this is a little like nerdy and technical, but like they did this weird thing where in filmmaking and in video, like when you take something that's like 30 frames per second and you slow it down, it's really
Oh, is
choppy and it
that with
looks really
the Neil
bad and
Patrick
cheesy.
Harris thing where with the bullet time thing?
Yeah, and that's kind of what they did there.
Yeah,
Was like it looked like they just slowed down footage that wasn't meant to be slowed down. But then later on, you see that it's like an intentional effect and you're like, why?
yeah.
Like it didn't feel innovative, it didn't feel
And
cool. It just felt like
it
something was
It was even
off.
lame how they referenced it as bullet time and they called it bullet time. And you're
Yes.
like, no, it's not bullet time. It's his powers. That's like what he's doing. And it got so meta that it's like you're just out of it. And it just feels like it's just too wink, wink, nod, nod. And even even like the side character, the new characters, like I don't care about any of them. Like Bugs was like the only one with the blue hair chick. And first of all,
Right.
it's that's kind of the thing that bugged me too. Is in the first one, what I loved about it is the Matrix is this dangerous place where you
Right.
log in, you go out, you got to watch out. This one, they don't care. And the cool thing is they choose this like avatar almost like it's like a video game where they bling them out and make them look
Yeah.
super cool. And Bugs, you're like she has this like blue cotton ball on her head, and you're like, wait, you want to look like that? Like this is intentional. Like
Maybe
just
it was the
was.
movie promoting the metaverse at the end of the day. Like maybe that's what it
I
was.
guess.
Maybe
And even
that's why
that,
we
like
didn't
even
get it.
Yeah, even Keanu Reeves, like he looks kind of a little bit schlubby at the end. I'm like, wait, so you can change what you look like, and you still kind of look a little bit schlubby. I I don't
The whole
know.
movie,
Like
he was just kind of like, I love Keanu Reeves, but he was just
I
so
do too.
like unenthusiastic about everything,
Yeah.
you
Well, he
know?
was great in
And
John Wick, and so I
oh
know he can
yeah,
do action, and I know he can do
that's
all
the
that. So
thing.
even when he was fighting the quote unquote new Mister Smith,
Right.
like I called it. There was one part where Mister Smith is about to swing, and I'm like, I know he's going to hit that column. He's going to duck. He did the exact same thing in the first one, and I'm like, this is not a thing where people are like, hey, that happened in the first one, and
Right.
it's not a. I mean, why are you doing this callback? It doesn't make sense. And I
Right.
get they're trying to be all meta about it and be like, oh, the Matrix made this loop or whatever, but it just doesn't work if I'm out of it.
Yeah, completely agree. It just, I wasn't connected to any part of it. And at a certain point, I just started kind of rolling my eyes at like the dialogue, at the story, like at terribly made up old person Jada Pinkett Smith, you know?
Oh gosh, yeah. What about the Merovingian? Do you remember that French guy? Uh,
Dude, my brother had to tell me that's who that was in the bird
I
costume. I'm like,
I
I have
wouldn't
no idea who this is.
I wouldn't have known. And he reminded. Have you seen Monty Python and the Quest for the Holy Grail?
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
reminded me of the French guy, and they're like, "I fart in your general direction." And he's just like saying like French gibberish, like da 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 da, just at him, and it was so
Right.
dumb. And I'm like, "Who is this guy?
You're like, I
What are you
think this is
talking?"
supposed to be offensive, but I'm not sure.
Why I have this
Yeah.
outrageous French accent? How do you not know who I am? But yeah, even Jada
Yeah.
Pinkett Smith, that makeup was terrible. Like,
I mean, not just the
I mean,
makeup.
I know,
Like, again, I respect and appreciate her as as an actor, but even her like
yeah.
old person, like, oh, I'm an old person
It's been
now. Like her
84
voice, you
years
know.
since I've heard that. Yeah.
But I'm just like, this is just so campy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
again, maybe some people like that about it, you know. But it just was not. It was just not for me. It felt like a straight to DVD movie.
I think so too. And it's one of those movies I'm like, I kind of want, do I need to watch it again to figure out like all
To
the things that they were
appreciate
talking,
it.
but I
Yeah.
don't even really want to watch it again because
Yeah.
I just feel like nothing happened. And it's like the whole movie is just him talking to his therapist and, him with his
Yeah.
friends, which I mean, if you set that up as a movie and then the action got into it, I mean, like, I'd be okay. It's like, it's one of
Totally.
those things,
Right.
the longer you focus on things, the more like I feel like steady it needs to be. Like it needs to be more
Right.
solid
Right.
in foundation because it's like if you have a one comment like, oh, this happened, like it's the Spider-Man movie, they did that, like they're like, oh, you fell in a tub of something too, huh? And it's just a throwaway line and then they move on. But this is like the Matrix. They're like, well, let's have 50 minutes of a tub and talk about the tub and all the properties of
Yeah.
the tub, and it was just
Right.
too much. And they're trying to make it too smart when it's like I feel it's like how dumb people think smart people talk kind of thing. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So
Yeah,
I don't know.
totally. No, I get that. And I think one of my other gripes with the movie is like, I love Neil Patrick Harris as an actor. I think he's great. I loved him in
Yeah,
a variety of roles. I thought he did great in like 8-Bit Christmas, for example. And,
and
obviously How
Doogie
I Met Your
Howser.
Mother. Obviously,
Let
Doogie
us not
Howser.
forget Doogie Howser. Doogie Howser. Yeah, it was the
Let
Cheech
us
and
not
Chong
forget the
episode.
Doobs.
Yeah.
Um, no, but I just in this movie, I felt like he was just playing Neil Patrick Harris, like
Yeah.
his menacing villain character, I just like didn't buy it. I just couldn't take him seriously. Like I just thought he was being like silly the whole time. And like
Yeah.
honestly, like I almost like chuckled every time he came on screen. And again, it's nothing against him. It's just I feel like
I just felt like bad
you
direction
can't take him
on the
seriously.
director's
Yeah,
part.
as like that villain. So
yeah, and then
yeah,
like even the Mr. guy who plays Mr. Smith, he's the actor from that serial
Mindhunter.
killer Mindhunter.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
didn't even
Love that
register
show.
until that. Yeah, I love that show
Yeah.
too. And he just kind of in this movie he kind of came over as like a kind of a frat bro in a way. You know what I mean? It was like
totally did.
so
And
like
then
frat bro Smith. I don't know. It felt like an origin story, and though I don't get they did the 60-year jump, and I'm like okay, and they're like oh, and Morpheus died, and I'm like I kind of preferred to have I'd like an old Morpheus too or something. But
yeah, totally. Instead, they just cast another black guy.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, we were talking about this. Like Yahya is like the luckiest guy in Hollywood. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
with him,
he really is.
He was great in Watchmen. He did this. He's in
Right.
Aquaman. Like, he's just got like, I mean, it's
Yeah.
WB, I guess, but
Yeah,
he's lucky.
it's like him and Oscar Isaac are just like striking gold right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think just sort of to wrap it up, I think we can both agree. It just felt like it was missing the substance that you would expect from a Matrix movie in 2021, especially.
And not to mention at the end where they're like, by the way, Neo's not the one. Trinity is the one also. and she can fly, and they're gonna, and you're like, and then at the end, I mean, they're both flying in, like, recalling the first movie.
Right,
but,
right.
I don't know where they're going or why they did it. It just felt like a waste of time for the entire thing. Like, I'm like, it felt like an origin story, but without the cool action and without a reason.
Right. And I keep telling people like, okay, if Neo was the one and Trinity was the one, that's two. So you can't have two ones.
That's definitely a two. The Jerry Seinfeld. You got the one. You're the one.
You got the one. You got the other one. It just, I'm like, you can't have, that defeats the purpose of the one. You know what I mean? But whatever. I guess I don't understand the movie. Maybe that's
I
what
don't either. Yeah. But on the other side, we got Spider-Man.
On a more positive note. Yes. Yes.
So you saw it opening night, correct?
I saw it opening weekend. I saw the Saturday that it came out. Yeah. You saw it opening night.
I did. I saw it opening night, and I actually just got back from it today. A second time. IMAX. It's crazy because, I mean, the theaters have been packed like nonstop. And I mean, it reached in like 12 days, it reached $1 billion worldwide. For a pandemic, I mean, that's insane.
Didn't it exceed Endgame numbers?
For the 3-day weekend, it did.
That's insane.
Yeah. And also, it's the highest movie Sony's ever made, highest grossing profit or something like that.
Yeah.
But
it's grossly the highest one.
Yeah. So it's just going. And so at IMAX, I saw today, I got off work a little bit early because, New Year's Eve and stuff. And I noticed there was a 3:45 showing at IMAX, and there was like literally 15 people there.
Nice.
And so I was like, I'm going. So I drove over there. And it's funny because the first movie, I love going to movies and I love seeing them. But the thing that I hate, and I kind of forget that I hate this, is people talking in movies. And it's like, you can control that at home. But when you're there, I mean, on the East Coast, you can just say, like, hey, shut up, keep it down. But on the West Coast, you glare at them and just keep glaring until they
it's very passive aggressive. Glare.
It's very
do
passive.
A couple throat clears.
Yeah. So the first one, I had this total white bro. Like, I mean, his name was Chatter Brody. And so anytime a reveal happened, he was like, Jody Brody, Jody, I don't know. Yeah. So anything that happened, he went like Peter Parker came. He's like, bro, dude, bro. And like everything. And so it got to the point where I got a little annoyed. And so he was the most white bro stereotype. And then today I sat next to this couple, and it's funny because it wasn't too bad, but I had my designated seat, and then there was the stereotypical like black dude, and he was like, bro, bro. So and so I got up and I like moved into another seat away from humanity. I need to move on my
Not
side because
again.
it's like, I'm like there's people talking during movies. I'm like, no, this is quiet time. Like, you
Yeah. Well,
don't ruin this for me, please.
I'll be honest. I was kind of the stereotypical black guy in my theater. I was
But
like,
see,
I
it's
clapped
okay
when
when,
certain events happened, and
but see, opening weekend though, that's the thing. Everyone does that. But like
right, that's true.
this dude was on a date, so he was like talking to this chick. So he's
Oh
like,
yeah,
"Oh,
yeah,
check
yeah,
this out,"
yeah.
and like, yeah, man, there was
Nobody's
even a scene
clapping
where
with you on the third week that
yeah,
it's out.
even there was the scene where Mary Jane was getting interrogated by the cops, and she's like, "I don't want to talk to anyone." He goes, "You want to talk to your mom?" And I'm like, "Okay, man, that wasn't even good. What are you doing?
Good
You are
one,
not.
man.
This date is not." I'm going to say, from an outsider perspective, this date is not going well for you guys. Like,
ma'am, you might just want to head out now.
just might want to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I do have to give you props for not spoiling anything. I really appreciate it. You
No problem. It
you
was tough,
respected my
man.
wishes there, and yeah, I got to go in fresh. And again, probably going to spoil the crap out of this movie. So if you don't want to hear it,
Let's
you may
spoil it.
might want
Spoil it.
to leave now. But
It's
uh,
been 2 weeks,
it's
2 to 3 weeks.
grace
So
period's over. But
it's
yeah,
over.
that the Parker, the Peter Parker's, the
Peter
Spider-Man from
Parker, one,
different
two, and three.
1, 2, and 3. We got to talk about that, man. I feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of the big thing, the big reveal.
Did that? So you didn't even know about that, right? Going in?
It had been rumored, and I think like between you and like my brother, you guys were like, yeah,
I
it's
probably
gonna
had said
happen.
it.
No,
Yeah.
no, but you were like,
Yeah.
it's gonna happen, and I'm like, yeah, but I can't put too much faith in Sony. I don't know if they're gonna pull it off, and they pulled it
Yeah.
off. They did it, and I was
They did.
pumped. I was so excited, and
And
I mean, yeah,
it wasn't just like a little tiny cameo. It was about a fourth of the movie they were in.
yeah,
So
which is, I mean,
that was pretty cool.
I think that's what you should expect, or that's what we would expect from like cameos that high profile. Like you don't want just like a little like, hey, I'm just passing through, swinging through.
Remember me, guys?
Yeah.
And then the portal closes.
Right. But man, that moment was just so great. I knew it too. I knew as soon as that portal opened, and I could just tell it was like a taller Peter Parker, and I'm like, oh man, that's our
Yeah.
boy.
No, I was super. I was excited when it was going. I wasn't as excited as the guy next to me either time, but I was having a good. I was enjoying it.
You should have fed into it, man. When he said "bro," you should have turned around and said "bro,
bro."
You guys could have
Do you
broed
want a
together.
chest bump right now? Yeah, we get a chest bump or something.
Right.
High five, double high five.
Yeah, you just lean into it at that point.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm a pretty big Spider-Man fan. I read a lot of the comics. I've read as much as I can of that. I actually the first trilogy I was a little disappointed by, but I like aspects of Spider-Man 2 a lot.
Oh yeah,
Tobey Maguire just really kind of annoyed me in a way because he was so whiny.
Right.
But I liked Andrew Garfield a lot. But
yeah, he's very charismatic.
His movies weren't as good. They felt like they needed to be edited a little bit more.
Right.
But
right.
I love his. I think his Spider-Man is great.
Yeah.
But let's talk about like the villains too. I mean, what do you think about the villains?
Yeah. I thought they all did great. I loved seeing Willem Dafoe, reprise his role as Green Goblin, and he
Green
was
Elf, Green Elf, as what Peter 1 said.
Right. So he did a great job, just embodying that role again. He's always been great in that role. Everybody, I think, has been great in that role. The only person, I mean, I don't know if I'm a little biased because I think you and I talked about his interview, Jamie Foxx, where he's like being interviewed with the other villains. And he's totally like a third wheel. Like he's totally just like, yeah, totally. And like everybody's giving these like really eloquent answers. And he's just like, yeah, Electro, he's just like, he's got this different mindset, and you're like, what are you talking about? So I don't know if it was
Yeah,
that
no, he
kind of
doesn't.
in the back of my mind, but I just felt like his delivery and lines, he just kind of, I felt like he kind of
So
just played Jamie Foxx too. You know what I mean?
he totally did, and so I came up with a good analogy that Jamie Foxx is the Johnny Cochran of villains. Like if Spider Man must die, I'm gonna hit you in the eye. Like his phrases in the movie were so stupid. Like,
Yeah.
and even he came up, he's like, I'm all about that new, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh come on, man.
And
Like
you know
you
that
gotta
was you
like,
know that was Jamie Foxx too, being like,
oh yeah,
see, my character
yeah.
wouldn't say that. He would say it's all about
Yeah.
that new, you know.
Yeah, yeah. He's going to say something that's very 2019. I'm just going to say, and that's, I guess the thing is, like in Spider-Man 2, he had even said like he did the itsy bitsy spider, and he just made some
Right,
bad
right,
puns, and you're like,
right.
it just felt a little bit too much. And overall, I'm going to say I like enjoyed the movie a lot. Like,
Oh yeah,
but
same here.
watching it the second time, what really kind of bugged me. So it's about not I think Tom Holland did a great job too, but you can kind of see how the personality types of the three different Spider-Men,
Oh yeah.
Tobey Maguire is the very boring serious Spider-Man,
Right,
and Andrew Garfield's kind of the quirkier, kind of funnier, quippy Spider-Man,
right, right.
and Tom Holland is the stupid Spider-Man. Um, because of when he lets the villains into the apartment. For
Oh
me, that
man.
I was like, why are you doing this? Like,
Yeah.
they're all villains. You just caught them. And you're like, hey, you guys want to go to my aunt's apartment? Yeah, she's there. She doesn't care. I can make you guys some mac and cheese. We could hang out, maybe
You
watch
guys
some
couldn't do
movies.
anything to her, right? Like she'll be
Yeah,
fine, right?
and Jamie Foxx, like even him, he's like, if it doesn't work, I'm gonna kill you. And he's
Right.
like, okay. And then,
Okay, well, it's got to work then.
well, my Aunt May is gonna kill you if you don't take your shoes off. I'm just saying. But
Yeah,
so
it's so
I
true.
felt when that happened, I'm like, they're depowering you, right? I mean, so they're going to depower you and send you back to that dimension to kill you. Like that
Yeah,
doesn't make any sense. Like,
yeah,
so like I get it, maybe if you're like they're going to depower him and keep him there, but
right.
they're like, we're going to depower you and take you back. So it's like you're going to die anyways. I mean, they
Yeah,
they got them like literally instant before they died. And I'm like,
right,
what would sending them back before? Like, because Doc Ock would be underwater, like dead. Like when
right.
they
Yeah,
send them
that's
back.
true. Or at least if they like changed it up, they might like they would just go to jail instead of like dying. You know what I mean? It's not a much better
Right,
life.
right. And I think that's kind of what bugged me too is the it felt very naive of I mean because I guess this Tom Holland Spider-Man is very naive
Right,
because he's like, oh well, if they didn't have their powers they'd be good guys. It's like, no, they've done these terrible things, maybe other than Doc Ock. Like
right,
Doc Ock is the only one who was mentally controlled, but like
right. His brain was
Electro,
fried.
even like yeah, even Electro, when he didn't have his powers, he was still a bad guy.
Yeah, and is like
Sandman,
looking less nerdy gonna make him like less of a bad guy now.
yeah,
He's like, I'm
yeah,
cool
he didn't
now,
have that
so
comb over.
yeah,
I liked how it fixed his teeth and stuff. And I mean, they
yeah,
did address
right,
that because he had this giant gap and he had like a comb over. He
right,
was super nerdy in it. And one of them said like, "Oh, I see it fixed you" or something like that.
right.
So I did like how they talked with each other. All the bad guys were like talking, but overall, I'd say I felt like there's this comic artist that I talked before about named Brian Michael Bendis, where he writes everyone like they're all the smartest people in the room. They're all quippy and they're all
Yeah,
funny and they're all going back and forth. And
right,
every single person in this film was quippy and funny,
right.
except for Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man, like, and I'm talking about like Tom Holland. Like he didn't
Yeah.
throw a single joke or anything the entire movie.
Hey man,
And
he just
you're like,
had
you don't
way
want
too
him
much
to,
responsibility going on in the movie. He had no
right,
time
right.
for joking.
With great responsibility comes with no punchlines. Um,
No sense of humor.
Yeah, but I mean, and you're like, but then at the same time, serious things happen to him the entire movie. So I guess they kind of brought in the other Spider-Men, and so I
Yeah.
get that, but yeah, he was, I don't know, he just kind of seemed really dumb because even him giving this stuff to Mysterio, and um,
Right.
I don't know, but that's getting nitty gritty. I enjoyed the movie. I didn't love it. I still thought Spider-Verse did everything better.
Oh yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
and I could rewatch this No Way Home, occasionally, but it's not like Spider Verse where I could like watch it literally every night during the
Oh
week.
yeah. Same here. I think Spider-Verse, I agree. Spider-Verse is still Into the Spider-Verse, to be clear, is still
Mhm.
like my number one Spider-Man movie of all time. But
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoy this one too. I think to your point about the different Spider-Man bringing something different. We both, you and I, kind of chatted about this already too. But Tobey Maguire, like, just seemed like he did not want to be in the movie.
Yeah, he's like, I was promised like a sandwich if I'd appear.
Hey guys, I got a
Is
family now. I don't really do this
yeah,
anymore.
yeah. You could. I think he did a good job in the sense that he was the wise and mature Spider-Man, but then at the same
Yeah,
time, he also was very boring and very just like, I guess, yeah,
yeah,
I'm Spider-Man.
whatever. Yeah,
All right, I guess I'm Spider-Man. I don't know.
yeah, totally agree. I think this one was great. Like, I actually just talked to my barber the other day about it, and he was like, "What did you think?" And I was like, "It was good. It wasn't the best Spider-Man I've seen, but it wasn't like a terrible Spider-Man, or it wasn't even bad.
No, no.
It was just good."
It was very solid. There
Yeah,
wasn't really any downtimes. Sometimes you'll watch a movie and it just like bloats in the middle.
right.
It has, it doesn't feel like it's almost 3 hours. It doesn't
That's
at all.
true. That's true. It did fly by. But yeah, I think, I still think Into the Spider-Verse for sure is my top one.
Mhm.
And I think even Homecoming was pretty good. Like, that was
I
probably one
loved
of my,
Homecoming.
yeah, I think that was one of my other top Spider-Man movies. So I wouldn't say this one was up there with those, but again, it definitely wasn't like,
Yeah.
with Spider-Man 3 or anything like that.
No, no.
The original Spider-Man 3.
I think that's something to say for landing the third one. Not
Totally.
just like Spider-Man, but like even Dark Knight Rises. Like that was a
Right.
terrible movie. Like
Right.
the third trilogies, they always try like closing it too much, and you're like, you
Doing
don't need
too
to
much.
close it.
Yeah.
You don't need to do too much. Just make it a good movie. Like you don't have to
Right.
finalize everything. But ultimately, too, I liked where this ended. How he's like no one knows about him, how he's poor, and it's like kind of starting over. Like he's not like rich, giving everything to him like Tony Stark Jr.
Right. Right.
He's the Spider-Man of the comics, just like down on his luck. And I like him and Zendaya. I thought Zendaya was really good. I thought Ned, his friend Ned, I forget his name. It's like Jacob something.
Yeah.
He was really good too. But I kind of hope in the new one that it's like he can kind of be on his own because I don't know. I think it would be kind of cool to see his like Spider-Man being on his own instead of like the team of Spider-Man,
Yeah, totally. And I get that this Peter Parker is like different from the others, and MJ isn't actually Mary Jane. She's whatever her name was. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's yeah,
Mariah Johnson or something. Just kidding. I don't
Michelle.
know.
It's like Michelle Johnson.
That's what it is.
Or,
Yeah.
yeah.
But so I get that they're doing that, but I also I still kind of want that classic Spider-Man story. So I think that's the only thing that really did kind of bother me in this trilogy, was that they kind of did a different take on it. And again, it wasn't bad. I didn't hate it, but
No,
I
not
just
at
kind of
all.
want that classic story. So I think as they move on, they'll be able to start focusing more on some of the more classic stories and villains and stuff like that too. So
Yeah, and my comparison to Tom Holland is he is the Marty McFly
oh,
of
totally.
Spider-Man,
Oh
where he's
yeah.
like, wow, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
whoa,
Right. He's
this.
like innocent.
He's the Michael J. Fox.
Right.
He's the innocent, like, oh, like he's reacting to everything. Like, so it's like
Yeah.
almost like he's doing the reaction of how, I guess maybe he's the avatar of the person or something. But
Yeah,
he
totally.
is very
Golly
Michael J.
gee.
Fox. So
Yeah.
yeah, he's very golly gee. And even Tobey Maguire's very golly gee. So
Yeah.
I really liked Andrew Garfield's arc too in this one, how he like catching Gwen,
Oh
like how
man.
he still is broken up, and when he caught
That was so sad.
Michelle, he was just so like he started to cry. She's like,
Yeah.
"Are you okay?"
Yeah, totally.
He's like, "I'm okay."
Yeah. I'm cool.
And I did like at the end how they didn't kill Toby from getting stabbed. I actually laughed at that part where he's like, "Yeah, I've been stabbed before." It's okay.
It's totally that superhero thing too, and kind of making fun of that, superheroes die all the time, but then they come back to life.
Yeah. One thing that kind of bugged me is how that last fight, it was all Electro, and then Green Goblin shows up the last like 2 minutes, like and that's
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean?
I think it did
so
kind of underscore this seriousness of Green Goblin though. They kind of saved the worst for last, I felt like.
Yeah, I wish he would have been in it more because he was so good in it. Like he was
Yeah.
just so creepy, and like him, he
Yeah.
killed Aunt May, and I mean, that was I kind of feel that was like a contract thing too, where she's like, well, I kind of want to get out of this trilogy, so can you
Yeah.
please kill me?
She's like, I want to get into Iron Man movies. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. I have a
But
my cousin Vinny. I have a my cousin Vinny remake coming up soon, so
yeah.
I need to tackle that.
Yeah, exactly. I think yeah, I think Willem Dafoe, poor guy. I just feel like he's creepy just as a person.
Oh,
So it's
he's
like,
creepy, man. Yeah,
it's like
even
he
when he's like
just all he
smiling
has to do
and
is smile.
he's like his face too. Like I mean, he hasn't actually aged too badly over like the past 20 years. I mean,
No.
for being such a weird
No,
looking
definitely
dude,
not.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they did the age reversing stuff on all of them too, but
Oh, they did.
yeah, still. I think so.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure because what's his name? Alfred Molina does not look like that now.
okay. Yeah. I
Doc
mean,
Ock,
you could tell
he
he looked a
looks
little bit
a lot
older.
older.
He didn't look the same age, but
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
Disney. They do it to people even if they don't need it. They're like,
I
Tom
know.
Holland, we're going to make you look 12.
Yeah, but I already do.
Yeah.
How about 11? We're going for 11. We're gonna
But
digitally remove all that little chin hair on there.
right, the peach fuzz.
Yeah.
No, but yeah. So great movie, Matrix Resurrections. Personally, wish it never happened, but
Yeah.
to each their own.
Yeah. Yeah. It actually made the second and third movie better by it being so terrible.
It's so true. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Those weren't that bad actually.
Yeah.
At least they had action.
Yeah. That is true. They did have a lot of cool action. I feel like those ones were more based on like you could tell they wanted it to be like anime or like at least some kind of like kung
Right.
fu and stuff. And this one, like
Right.
it was like its inspiration was itself. So it got like a watered
Yeah.
down version. So
Absolutely.
I don't know. At least,
Absolutely.
and it's funny because like nostalgia it's just one powerful drug where it's crazy how bringing like all these characters we know, we're like, oh, it feels good. And it can hit you really well and it can hit you not great at the same time. So
Right.
I
And
feel
that's
like
what drew
Hollywood
me in was
has a
like,
heart.
I love the
Yeah.
Matrix, 1 and
Oh, yeah.
kind of 2. And, I was like, I didn't even, and I should have said that at the beginning too. I didn't have high expectations for this movie. I
No.
just had some expectations. I feel like it
Yeah.
still failed
I just wanted to see it.
to meet any.
And, the worst part about it is like it felt like a lot of the movie, like it felt like a made for Netflix movie where you could tell
Oh, totally.
they only have like two action scenes because there's not a lot of action in the Matrix. And you're like,
Right.
they're like, well, we're saving up our budget for this, so let's have Neil Patrick Harris talk for like 50 minutes. He's really cheap. It felt that way. You can kind of tell that you're like, I just felt like not like it was something.
Yeah. I thought it was funny too how his how all the action in the movie was just like everything they showed in the trailers. I'm like, they literally pulled everything they possibly could have from the movie for the trailers.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that gets me every time, man. Like, I have to watch a movie the second time because the first time, every time I think I'm like, well, there it is. Like, I'm like, there's that scene. There's that scene.
Yeah. I think that that just about wraps up our bonus episode. I know we wanted to kind of keep this short and sweet, so thank you everyone for listening and possibly watching. And we hope to do more of these kind of quick bonus episodes more often, since movies and video games and stuff pop up so quickly. It's kind of hard for us to wait, and then talk about a bunch of other stuff. So we hope to do more of these.
Yeah, we're gonna be reviewing Birds of Prey a year and a half after it released. So stick around for that review.
Exactly.
But we hope you guys like these kind of semi-shorter ones, and you can see us react.
Yeah, it's great. Let me tell you, if you haven't been able to tell so far, it's wonderful.
It's the best.
Yeah. No, thank you guys so much for listening as always, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
See ya.